There are times that God provides just what we need at the moment. Sometimes He uses other people to do that. Oftentimes He does. Um, my father passed away from cancer, and so he had been sick for a year or so before he passed away. And we had made a few trips from Canada to Pennsylvania to be with him while he was ill. And then um, we had been there, and he was not doing too well. And but we had been there for a week or two, and it was just one of those things where, I wanted to be there when he passed away, but I didn't know how long I could stay, and eventually decided we were going to head back to Canada. And so we did, got home, and a few days after we got back to Canada, he passed away. I had a Ford Escort station wagon, and it was uh, probably 6 or 7 years old, and it I was having trouble with it. It seemed like water, like radiator fluid was getting away, coolant was getting away somewhere, and I had the mechanic look at it, and he said, "Well, I'm not sure. They couldn't find it and anything." And um, so I put some radiator sealer in, but saying like, "What should I do?" And don't worry about it. It'll be okay. And so then my father passed away, and we were getting ready to go to Pennsylvania, and I had this problem with my car. And so I asked the mechanic, "What should I do? Is this car going to get me to Pennsylvania?" And he said, "Well, if it's a leak in the radiator, uh, it could get worse, but you can put stop leak in it, and you'll get there. Just keep checking it." He said the other thing it could be a head gasket, and if it's a head gasket, um, you won't do any more damage to the engine, so it probably won't get any worse. So we headed for Pennsylvania. Well, we got to Fort Francis. I added coolant to the radiator. We got to Duluth, and it needed more coolant. So I called the mechanic in Dryden, and he said, "Well, you're going to be driving straight through. It's not going to get cold." And this was in January. So he said, uh, "Your engine's, it's not going to freeze. So don't buy antifreeze. Just put straight water in it and just keep adding water." Well, I kept adding water. We got down to Wisconsin to around Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and I got to a truck stop there, and um, I poured water in, but it didn't get full. I poured a few gallons of water in, and the radiator wouldn't get full. And I couldn't figure out where it was going. It wasn't coming out the bottom. And my mechanic friend told me later, if I would have looked, it was probably running out the exhaust because it was going in through the engine and probably running out the exhaust. But anyway, um, we went and, well, we lost heat. We didn't have heat. And so, because there wasn't enough water to circulate through the heater anymore, and so it was cold. And we got down to Chicago. We got to the west side of Chicago. I stopped. I put water in again. I thought, I don't want to break down in Chicago. And um, but we put water in it. Got through Chicago. Got to the east side of Chicago, and by this time it was real early in the morning. We drove through Chicago in the middle of the night, and it was real early in the morning. And I was telling you, if we're going to make it, we'll get there. We just have to kind of, keep nursing this thing along, and we'll get there. But when we got into Indiana, on the east side of Chicago, uh, it started to lose power, and even up some of the upgrades on the Indiana toll road, I had to downshift, and they're not even big hills. And I was telling you, I don't know, this isn't going to work. Like, we'll never be able to do the mountains in Pennsylvania if we have to downshift on some of these little upgrades in Indiana. We get to uh, South Bend, uh, Middlebury, Goshen, where we have friends. We need to stop and get somebody to look at this and see what we can do. Well, we didn't go very far until the engine started missing, and then it started doing it. And I said, well, and just right at that time, um, there was a sign for a service plaza. So I said, we're going to make it to that service plaza. So we were going along, it's missing. And when we got to the bottom of the ramp for the service plaza, it was just kind of taking jerks. It was just kind of going, it was just kind of jerking. And we got on the ramp to the service plaza. The engine shut off, all the dash lights came on, and we coasted up the ramp to this in the ramp to the service plaza. We coasted into a parking spot and stopped. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, "Well, we're going to be. It's warm here. We'll go inside, and I'm going to call somebody, but um, I want to wait till like 6 o'clock in the morning, at least till people are getting up. I don't want to wake somebody up in the middle of the night." So we went in the service plaza, and there were some upholstered chairs there, and so Edith and the children laid down on the upholstered chairs, and I was kind of watching them. I didn't really want to go to sleep, and so I was kind of keeping an eye on them, and but Edith was there. She was just sleeping, had her head down on the armrest, and a trucker came over to her, and of course I wasn't with them. I was kind of standing off to the side of the room there. The trucker came over and kind of tapped her and said, ma'am, are you okay? Is everything all right? She's like, yeah, she's fine. And so 6 o'clock in the morning, I called Dave Hostetler, who was my friend that lived at Napanee, and explained the situation to him. And I said, can you help me? Like, and he said, it sounds to me like you need a vehicle. So he said, I'll tell you what, my brother and I will come over, we'll bring you a van, you go to Pennsylvania, we'll get your car off the toll road, we'll get it to a shop, we'll have them find out what's wrong with it. You just go to Pennsylvania for your dad's funeral. So that's what he did. He came over, he brought a van. My family and I, we went on our way to Pennsylvania. He and his brother put our car on a trailer and hauled it off to a garage. And we got to Pennsylvania. We had um, the funeral for my father and brought the van back to Indiana. The engine in my car was ruined. Like the head gasket was bad and the head had warped, and the car wasn't worth putting another engine in. It was an older car. So we bought another car there in Indiana and took it back home. But, it was through a friend, through Dave. God provided what we needed at the moment.